The legitimate sister is dead. She died on the way to exile. Unable to bear the humiliation, she plunged into the rushing river, leaving no trace of her remains. Upon learning this, Lu Xun didn't even remove his armor. Wielding a long whip, he stormed into the courtyard, and the barbed lashes fell upon me one after another, until my back was a bloody mess. Holding the legitimate sister's memorial tablet, he reproached me, "If it weren't for you forcing me to save you with the marriage contract, Shuang'er wouldn't have died. You wretch, why weren't you the one exiled? Why weren't you the one who died?" From then on, he beat and humiliated me every day, making me the laughingstock of the entire capital. I had no family to turn to, and as the descendant of a disgraced official, I couldn't leave or escape. I could only endure the humiliation and continue managing his dilapidated general's mansion. Later, he achieved great success, but forced poison down my throat. Then turned to marry my half-sister's memorial tablet into the household. Everyone praised his devotion, yet no one noticed he had locked me in the woodshed, where my fingers festered, and I vomited black blood all over the ground, wailing in agony for a full day and night before finally dying. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Lu Xun rushing over with an imperial decree. "Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful stories every day." Now the story begins. I had been reborn, returned to the day I was exiled. I haven't married Lu Xun yet, so I don't have to endure his daily beatings and insults. Seeing Lu Xun galloping on horseback, I couldn't help but wish to tear his flesh and blood with my teeth. When I heard the familiar voice behind me, I couldn't control the resentment that welled up inside me again. It was my half-sister, Qin Shuang. In our previous life, when we were exiled, Lu Xun used his military merits to save one person from exile, allowing him to choose one of us sisters to rescue. My engagement to him was known throughout the capital, yet he had an affair with my half-sister Qin Shuang, even secretly pledging their lives to each other. Unfortunately, in my past life, I was unaware of his secret relationship with Qin Shuang. My desire to live and my love for him ultimately led me to bring up our engagement, but I did not force him. It was he who, torn between his fiancée and his unspoken affair, reluctantly chose me. I never thought this would become his excuse to hurt me. He promised Qin Shuang that he would find a way to bring her back to the capital after some time. Back then, I foolishly believed that he treated my family kindly only because he loved me. Unexpectedly, a few days later, instead of bringing Qin Shuang back, he received the news that she had been unable to endure the humiliation from the escorting soldiers and had jumped into the river to her death. When Lu Xun rushed there, all he found was a cenotaph. He returned to the mansion, holding Qin Shuang's memorial tablet, and lashed me over and over with a barbed whip, cursing me as a wretched woman, a jinx. "It was you who pressured me with the marriage contract. I had no choice but to choose you. I was supposed to marry Shuang'er. It's Shuang'er I love. The one I want to spend my life with is Shuang'er. Bitch, why weren't you the one exiled? Why didn't you die instead?" That day, he cursed and humiliated me with the most vicious words in the world, making me the laughingstock of the entire capital. But he forgot that marriage contract between him and me was something he begged for on his knees before my parents on a snowy winter day. He forgot that when he was away at war, it was I who sent money and provisions to provide him with warm clothing. He even forgot that when the fallen general's mansion couldn't afford a doctor, it was I who invited a renowned physician from the capital to treat his mother, sending all kinds of precious medicines flowing into the mansion, and even personally attended to his mother at her bedside. Whenever I missed him and felt I couldn't hold on any longer, I would tell myself that once he returned, everything would be fine, and I wouldn't have to struggle so hard anymore. Never did I expect that years of genuine affection and hard work would only be met with his insults, beatings, and the foul language of slut and jinx, until he achieved military success, and the general's mansion rose from the ground, its glory restored 1,000-fold. It's just a pity that a beast will never have a heart. He married the memorial tablet of his half-sister, earning himself the reputation of a devoted lover, but on that very day, he pried open my mouth and personally forced poison down my throat. What poison was it? I don't know. All I know is that it seeped into my heart and lungs, leaving me unable to live or die. Why didn't he even give me a chance to survive? I questioned him, tears streaming down my face. In life, Schwanger could not be my wife, but in death, she shall become a woman of the Lu family. Then what about me? Where does that leave me? You're nothing but a coward who fears death. Though we have not yet held the wedding ceremony, our engagement is no facade. Now, everyone outside believes you are already my woman, Lu Xun. For the sake of my general's household's reputation, and for your own name, Qin Yao, go to hell. I was locked in the woodshed, struggling in agony, while he married a memorial tablet. Was he more heartless, or was I more pitiful? This time, I knelt quietly on the ground, not looking at Lu Xun, nor mentioning the marriage contract between us again. Qin Shuang, however, looked up at him with a pitiful expression, biting her thin lips and silently shedding tears in a fragile manner. He glanced back and forth between the two of us, seeing that I kept my head down and remained silent, while Qin Shuang played the part of a delicate, vulnerable woman to perfection. He finally stopped in front of her. Schwanger is delicate and cannot endure the hardships of a 1,000-mile exile. Let her stay in the capital for now. I wasn't the least bit surprised and felt an unexpected sense of calm. Instead, the surrounding area was filled with murmurs and discussions. I heard that General Lu's fiancée was the second daughter of the Qin family. So why has the general now chosen the eldest daughter? What eldest daughter? That Qin Shuang is just a daughter born of a concubine. Back then, Lady Qin was kind enough to keep her, but who would have thought she would end up leaving a disaster for her own daughter? Didn't you hear it just now? General Lu called her Schwanger, TSK, calling an unmarried woman by her personal name. Isn't that just obvious? In that case, these two must truly have an affair. At this moment, Qin Shuang had already removed her shackles and couldn't wait to throw herself into Lu Xun's arms. The two of them completely ignored the surrounding gossip and held each other tightly. With Lu Xun looking at her with eyes full of heartache, their display of affection provoked everyone in the Qin household, especially since it was me that Lu Xun had come to propose to back then. Yet now he was holding Qin Shuang and refusing to let go. My mother stepped forward angrily to argue. Lu Xun, the one betrothed to you is our Yaroa, and it was also Yaroa who has been taking care of your ailing mother all along. Now that we have fallen on hard times, your senior brother has died. And your master is missing. Instead of helping Yaroa, you spare this illegitimate daughter the hardship of exile. Lu Xun, has your conscience been eaten by dogs? Lu Xun once studied under my father as his disciple. Now my father is missing, and his senior brother, my own elder brother, has died in battle. Yet he hasn't said a single word about it. In my previous life, I had begged him repeatedly to clear my father's name and uncover the truth. Yet in the end, even in death, I never saw the outcome. Amid the whispers of those around and her mother's questioning, before Lu Xun could even respond, Qin Shuang's eyes reddened. She timidly hid behind him, her voice soft and fragile. Mother, please don't blame Lu Xun. He saved me out of pity for my frail health. If you and my sister are unwilling, we can simply switch back. As she spoke, she bent to pick up the shackles, ready to return to the exile procession. Lu Xun grabbed her arm, the last trace of guilt in his eyes vanishing as he glared fiercely at me. This is my own military merit. I'll save whoever I wish to save. Ignoring the protests of the crowd, he took Qin Shuang by the hand and turned to leave. My mother was still angry and wanted to argue, but I held her back. General Lu, please wait. Lu Xun turned around, thinking I was going to pester him, his eyes filled with disgust. Qin Yao, I will save you, but not now. You'd better, I sneered. Not wanting to listen to his hypocritical words for another moment. I don't need General Lu to save me. I only ask one thing. Since you and I are engaged, why did you get involved with my half-sister? What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't. Lu Xun and Qin Shuang's expressions changed simultaneously. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know it in your heart. Lu Xun, a great general who dares to act but not take responsibility. How blind I must have been back then to have fallen for you. After saying that, I directed my attack straight at Qin Shuang. Since this scumbag and this despicable woman have made my life miserable, then let's all be miserable together. You don't need to pretend with me and say those insincere words. Dear half-sister, if you truly cared for me as a sister, how could you have secretly carried on with my fiancé behind my back? It's just that, dear half-sister. Since you've already stooped to such disgraceful behavior, yet still try to act righteous. It's utterly nauseating to watch. Upon hearing my words, Qin Shuang covered her chest as if deeply wronged, looking as though she might collapse at any moment. Lu Xun supported her and glared at me coldly. Qin Yao, it is I who wish to take Shuang'er away. Your words may be aimed at her, but they are clearly meant for me. I always thought you were a reasonable person, but now it seems I overestimated you. His remark of overestimated not only dismissed all my efforts over the years but negated my very being. Resentment, indignation, and sorrow, all the grievances from this life and the last surged within me, turning my eyes crimson with emotion, since I am of little consequence in the general's eyes. Then today, in front of the entire city's populace, you shall annul our engagement and return my token. You wish to break off the engagement. Lu Xun clearly did not expect me to suddenly speak up about ending the engagement. Indeed, not only do I want to break off the engagement with you, but also the money, jewels, medicinal herbs, fabrics, and your mother's medical expenses that were sent to your general's residence over the years. If not 100,000, then at least 80,000, you must repay every last bit of that money to me. Qin Yao, you've gone too far. Lu Xun was frantic. His face flushed red with veins bulging on his forehead. I smiled indifferently. In my past life, because he saved me, I could overlook these worldly possessions. Yet he beat me for Qin Shuang, humiliated me, and poisoned me to death. I don't have the ability to take revenge for this grudge now. But these worldly possessions cannot be left to benefit this beast. Sister, it's unreasonable to ask for something back once it's been given away. Besides, carrying these valuables on the road to exile would only attract envy. What if we encounter bandits along the way? Qin Shuang appears delicate, yet she is the most heartless, who says that once something is given, it cannot be taken back. I looked coldly at Qin Shuang. How could you, once a young lady of the Qin family, be so short-sighted? If I were you, I would immediately have Lu Xun break off the engagement and even help him repay this debt. In that case, there would be no engagement between me and Lu Xun, nor any financial entanglements. Wouldn't you then be able to enter the general's mansion with a clean slate and marry him as the general's wife without a worry? Of course, if General Lu is unwilling to repay the money. I gave the two of them a cold, sidelong glance. Along this exile route, we'll pass through many villages and towns. I wouldn't mind spreading the tales of General Lu's romantic affairs and his history of living off women. As soon as I finished speaking, someone in the crowd burst into laughter. Even a few of the escorting constables crossed their arms, waiting to enjoy the drama. A flash of calculation passed through Qin Shuang's eyes, but on the surface, she timidly glanced at Lu Xun. Lu Xun looked at me, his expression of disgust growing more evident. Perhaps it was because I had made veiled criticisms of him, or perhaps he hadn't expected me to bring up breaking off the engagement right away. Not even sparing him any face, and shamelessly demanding money from him with the stench of greed. Qin Yao, you are now the family member of a convicted official. Don't even think about taking gold, silver, or valuables. You can't even take a single copper coin half a step out of the capital. He avoided the main issue, neither mentioning the annulment of the engagement nor the repayment of the money. Who said I was going to take it away? My voice was clear and bright. I'm going to donate all that money to the Sea Iron Hall in the west of the city. I emphasized the words Sea Iron Hall heavily, and the crowd immediately erupted. She said to donate that money to whom? Sea Iron Hall. That's the Sea Iron Hall that takes in sick and disabled children. I heard that Sea Iron Hall was established by the virtuous prince and princess. Since the prince passed away, I stand in the center of the crowd. Shackled, with my back straight and my gaze resolute. In my past life, I muddled through just to survive, left utterly broken by his cruelty. Even 2 days before being forced to drink poison, I was still dragging my battered body to manage the affairs of the general's household. But what did I gain after investing my money, my energy, and all of my emotions? In this life, I will fight for myself, for my family, and for my parents. If I remember correctly, in my previous life, around this time, the current Grand Princess and the Princess Consort of Xian were seated by the window in a 2-story tea house not far from where we are now. The Grand Princess and the Prince of Xian were both siblings of the current emperor, born of the same mother, and the three shared a deep bond, especially the Prince of Xian, who 2 years ago, while traveling, took a poisoned arrow meant for the emperor and ultimately succumbed to his injuries. The emperor, grateful for the virtuous prince's life-saving grace, wished to extend this bond of brotherhood. He brought the virtuous prince's young heir into the palace to be raised alongside the crown prince under his personal care. Moreover, the grand princess frequently visited the virtuous prince's residence to keep the princess consort company. Her own brother had passed away, and her nephew had been taken into the palace by the emperor, as a woman herself. The princess could understand the difficulties faced by the princess consort of Xian. In her previous life, Lu Xun chose me. The princess and the princess consort of Xian happened to be in that tea house, which led to the princess praising Lu Xun for his loyalty, filial piety, and righteousness. Not only did this earn him a good reputation, but it also caught the emperor's attention. In this life, I will let him rot in the reputation of loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and righteousness. Qin Yao. Are you really going to break off our engagement? Are you truly so heartless? Lu Xun might have also seen that I was determined, and actually softened his tone. I know you're angry that I saved Qin Shuang first, but rest assured, I will also. No need. I cut him off, call off the engagement and return the money. Upon hearing this, Lu Xun's face turned savage, and he threatened word by word. Qin Yao, don't forget you're the family member of a convicted official. Anything could happen on the exile journey. If you don't want to, crash, smack. Although I was wearing chains, they didn't hinder my movements when hitting someone. The chain lashed fiercely at Lu Xun, and a retaliatory slap struck his face. My eyes were bloodshot. You beast. Everyone else can call me the family of a disgraced official, but you have no right to say that. You were taught by my father since childhood. Don't you know what kind of man he was? He served the court and the emperor with utmost diligence and loyalty. Even my only brother died by the enemy's blade. How could my father possibly have conspired with the enemy and betrayed the nation? Instead of helping to clear his name, you're here threatening us, a widow and her orphan. Beast, you bastard. My tearful, heart-wrenching accusations and Lu Xun's actions even made the escorting officers look at him with changed eyes. You wretch, how dare you hit me? Lu Xun instinctively raised his hand to strike back. Just as a clear voice rang out from behind the crowd, the Grand Princess has arrived, the virtuous princess consort has arrived. Lu Xun withdrew his hand, glared at me fiercely, and then knelt down to pay his respects. I knelt on the ground, my face calm, but my heart pounded like a drum. You are the daughter of General Qin Yao. A gentle voice carried an innate sense of authority. I, your humble servant Qin Yao. Pay my respects to Her Highness the Princess and the Princess Consort of Xian. Lift your head up. I slowly looked up. The Grand Princess was as noble and imposing as in my past life, while the virtuous consort was gently amiable. I heard that you're breaking off the engagement with General Lu because he didn't save you, but instead saved your half-sister. The question came from the Grand Princess. Your Highness, regardless of whom General Lu chose to save with his military merits. This subject has no complaints. The reason for breaking off the engagement is due to another matter. Oh, what is the reason? Do tell. Beside her, the princess consort seemed very interested in listening. Your Highness the Grand Princess, Your Highness the Princess Consort. I bowed deeply and spoke word by word. General Lu, while betrothed to me, secretly carried on an affair with my half-sister. This is disloyalty. My father treated him like his own son, teaching him martial arts and the ways of the battlefield, yet he disregarded the dignity of my parents and elders, treating the Qin family with contempt. This is unrighteousness. When he was away at war, it was I who sent money and supplies to resolve his crises. When his mother fell gravely ill, it was also I who sought out renowned physicians and spent a fortune like flowing water to treat her. Now, whether it's breaking off the engagement or returning the money, he refuses to even mention it. This is injustice. Such a disloyal, unrighteous, and unjust man is unworthy of being my fiancé. Your Highness the Princess, Your Ladyship the Princess Consort, I beseech you to uphold justice for your humble subject and annul this marriage. Lu Xun's face flushed crimson, veins bulging on his forehead, his gaze fixed on me like daggers, teeth clenched. After all, the three mountains of disloyalty, inhumanity, and injustice crashing down upon him had nearly severed all his future prospects. It appears General Lu is indeed unworthy of being a good match, truly ungrateful and unjust. The virtuous consort spoke gently, even with a smile at the corner of her lips, but the smile did not reach her eyes. The Grand Princess raised an eyebrow, clearly not expecting the virtuous consort to speak up for the daughter of a disgraced official, Qin Yao. Do you know what it means for a woman to be rejected in marriage, Your Highness? This humble subject knows. I still bowed respectfully and performed the ceremonial kowtow. Those women who had their engagements broken off, some were sent to family temples to be confined and reflect on their mistakes. Some were sent to nunneries to practice asceticism while still keeping their hair, and some were scorned and pointed at by others, spending their whole lives with a solitary lamp and the Buddha. Since you know this, aren't you afraid? I shook my head. I am not afraid. If a man is disloyal, unkind, and unjust, even if he is a peerless hero or a man of extraordinary talent, I, Qin Yao, would not deign to spare him a second glance. In my previous life, it was because I knew what it meant for a woman to be rejected in marriage that I brought up the engagement with Lu Xun, but I've already died once. If I'm not even afraid of death, what else is there to fear? Good, you've got backbone. Beside me, the princess consort of Xian was looking at me with shining eyes, and it wasn't just a figure of speech. Her eyes were literally glowing green like a wolf spotting a meaty bone, sending a shiver down my spine. I never would have thought, truly never would have thought, that among the women raised in the inner chambers, there would be one as unique as you. I was puzzled. What did the princess consort mean by unique? I am just the most ordinary woman in the inner chambers of the capital. Besides, with the family now facing such a sudden change, who knows whether tomorrow or an accident will come first? Lu Xun, what about you? The Princess Royal cast a calm gaze at Lu Xun. Lu Xun knelt on the ground, his voice gritting through clenched teeth. Your subject does not wish to annul the engagement. If he were to annul the engagement now, it would bring no benefit but only harm to him and the general's manor. Now that the Qin manor is in trouble, if he were to annul the engagement at this time, it would inevitably invite criticism. Qin Yao publicly demanded money from him. If he were to break off the engagement and not give her the money, he feared being ridiculed as ungrateful, which was unacceptable to him. Moreover, Qin Yao had just dared to strike him. Once she entered his household, he would personally teach her a lesson and make her understand the principle that the husband is the master of the wife. Seeing that Lu Xun remained unmoved, the chill in my heart grew colder. Lu Xun was selfish and untrustworthy, weighing the pros and cons with every step he took. Lu Xun, as a general, as a man, you know full well you've taken every advantage, yet you still expect me to smile and accept your favor. Isn't that too cold-blooded and heartless? You are not unaware of the hardships women face in this world. With reddened eyes, I kowtowed to the Grand Princess. Grand Princess, I only ask to annul my engagement with Lu Xun. As for the money, 80,000 taels, I only seek to reclaim 80,000 taels. The rest can be considered payment for curing my blindness these past years. What, 80,000 taels? You're asking for an exorbitant price. Qin Shuang instinctively raised her voice, drawing unfriendly glances from the princess and the virtuous consort simultaneously. I cursed her in my heart for being a fool. Do you know what has been keeping the Lady Lu alive all these years? It's the century-old ginseng I bought with real gold and silver, the ginseng nourishing pills that cost 200 taels each, the renowned physician Zhong from the 100 Herbs Hall in the capital on standby at all times, and countless precious delicacies and medicinal herbs, year after year, day after day, for 3 whole years. Do you still think I'm asking for too much? Besides, this freeloader has spent my money on more than just this one thing. I glanced mockingly at Lu Xun, who was still in shock. 2 years ago on the first day of winter, the border military camp where Lu Xun was stationed was cut off by a blizzard, and supplies were running short. It was I who paid double the price to hire the Tiger Might Escort Agency, escorting 800 dan of provisions through the snow into the mountains, and also purchasing 5,000 taels worth of medicine from the 100 Herbs Hall to send along. You tell me, is this not worth more than 80,000 taels? Far more than 80,000 taels. The princess consort of Xian looked at me with a rather complicated expression. Silly girl, do you need me to give you a basket? Ah, I was stunned. The virtuous consort added, to dig for wild vegetables. You born with a saintly talent for digging wild vegetables, are even more love-obsessed than Wang Baochuan. I don't know who Wang Baochuan is, nor do I understand the connection between digging wild vegetables and having a love-struck mind, but I can sense that this isn't a compliment. Lu Xun, if you're compatible, stay together, if not, part ways. If you're still a man, return her betrothal letter, keepsakes, and money. Wouldn't that make it easier for you to fly off together with the beauty behind you? The virtuous consort glanced calmly at Qin Shuang. Qin Shuang, already pale, hid further behind Lu Xun. After all, she's a child of a concubine, so petty and narrow-minded. At that moment, the Grand Princess also spoke up. Since the wise consort has spoken, Lu Xun, I hereby grant you permission to annul your engagement with Qin Yaro, return the tokens and the betrothal gifts as well. Although Lu Xun was unwilling, with the pressure from the Grand Princess and the virtuous princess consort, he had no choice but to agree. However, the look he gave me was like a venomous arrow, as if he wished he could pierce me through. He probably never dreamed that I, the daughter of a disgraced official about to be exiled, would have such a significant impact on the general's mansion and his reputation. Lu Xun left with Qin Shuang amidst the humiliation and pointing fingers of the common people. Since the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort of Xian were still present, the bailiffs dared not step forward to urge them, but before I knew it, my mother had already knelt and moved forward, kowtowing repeatedly to the Grand Princess and the Princess Consort of Xian. Your Highness, Grand Princess, Your Highness, Princess Consort, please save my daughter, she is not yet 17. If she follows us into exile, I fear. Mother, what are you doing? Mother's forehead was already bleeding from the kowtow, and the tears I had held back for so long finally streamed down. I kowtowed to the princess and the virtuous consort. Your Highness the Princess, Your Ladyship the Consort, I am not afraid of exile, nor am I afraid of death, but I must plead for my father's innocence. My father is a man of unyielding integrity, utterly loyal to His Majesty and the court. He would never collude with the enemy or betray the nation. Now, my elder brother has died on the battlefield, and my father is missing. My Qin family has been wronged. In my past life, my elder brother died, my father went missing. The imperial guards surrounded the Qin residence with the so-called treasonous documents, and the emperor himself decreed with his vermilion brush that the Qin family members be exiled 3,000 miles away, from the incident to the exile. And then to my poisoning and death by Lu Xun. It all happened in less than 2 months. Those trivial details had long since vanished in fear, but now, thinking calmly, it seems there was something I overlooked. Survive. Only by staying alive in the capital can I uncover the truth of the matter. I knelt and moved forward. Your Highness, though I am untalented, I have at least received the blessings of my ancestors and studied under great scholars. I know a few words. And I am willing to go to Xian Hall to care for the children there and teach them knowledge. And as for the 80,000 taels, I give you my word I will donate it to the charity hall and never go back on my promise. I know, since the wise king passed away and the crown prince entered the palace, the wise king's consort then successively established the capital brocade office, the embroidery institute, and the dyeing garden, recruiting women who had been either abandoned by their husbands, left with no way out, or burdened by so-called reputation. I held on to hope. Hoping that I could be one of those women, I beg for the consort's compassion. Please save your humble subject, save the Qin family. Silence, so profound that even the surrounding common folk fell quiet. After an unknown length of time, only a sigh was heard. Enough. The princess consort of Xian looked toward the Grand Princess. Shiha, you said Lu Xun used his military merits to save Qin Shuang's life. What should I use to save Qin Yaro's life? The Grand Princess was speechless. Maybe you could just give that 80,000 taels to the Emperor. That won't do. That 80,000 taels is 2 years' worth of food for the children. Besides, I've already found them a good teacher. Since you've made your decision, why bother asking me? The Grand Princess lifted her leg and slipped into the carriage. The virtuous consort turned with a faint smile and looked toward me. My abilities are limited, I can only save you. Go bid farewell to your mother and report to Xian Hall tomorrow. He turned and got into the carriage, instructing the coachman. To the palace, I stayed behind, once again remaining in the capital on the day of my exile. This time, I wouldn't have to live under someone else's roof at the general's mansion, serve others day and night with morning and evening greetings, endure daily humiliation and abuse, or be forced to drink poison and die a miserable death. I left all my valuables to the bailiffs escorting us, asking them to take care of my Qin family during the journey. Those bailiffs turned out to be quite kind. Second, miss, we hold great respect for General Qin and the young general, and we will take good care of the Qin family. My heart was shaken. If they had been this way in my past life, why had Qin Shuang jumped into the river and died halfway through the journey? Who was the one that lied, after seeing someone off for 10 miles? There is still a parting in the end. Before it got dark, I returned to the mansion through the unsealed back corner gate. Seeing the familiar plants and trees before my eyes, I finally couldn't hold back and burst into loud sobs. I just never expected Lu Xun to stoop so low. When I opened my eyes in the middle of the night, I saw Lu Xun holding a knife right at my throat. He was going to kill me. In my past life, after the death of his half-sister, Lu Xun became increasingly violent and would often lash out at me. That's why I was extremely alert even in my sleep, and would open my eyes the moment I sensed someone nearby. At that time, Lu Xun was dressed in black, looking at me with a face full of brutality. Awake. I never expected that without my help, you could still remain in the capital. I underestimated you. I lay on the bed fully clothed, looking at him with a calm expression. Lu Xun, do you still remember the first lesson my father taught you? A warrior's weapon should only be aimed at enemies on the battlefield, not at comrades, not at the elderly, women, or children. Shut your mouth. Lu Xun viciously covered my mouth and dragged me to the ground. If you had obediently gone into exile and waited for me to rescue you, why would I have had to raise a weapon against you? I admit I still have some compassion for you. After all, you took care of my mother before, and we had a marriage contract, but now you've publicly broken off our engagement and demanded money from me, humiliating me in front of everyone. As he spoke in anger, his eyes held nothing but venom. Now, only if you die will my past not be brought up, and I can openly marry Shuang. I placed my hand at my side, secretly giving a hard pinch to the soft flesh of my thigh. Tears immediately welled up in my eyes, and I spoke with a choked sob. Lu Xun, we grew up together since childhood. My father was your mentor, yet for Qin Shuang's sake, you would actually kill me. A woman's tears are the best weapon. I cried pitifully, sobbing until I was out of breath, and collapsed onto him. In the moment he was stunned, my wrist flicked, and the plum blossom hairpin plunged unhesitatingly straight into his chest. Hiss! Ah, you wretch, you ambushed me. Lu Xun struck with his palm, and I took the opportunity to roll aside. By now, there were no tears left on my face. Lu Xun, if I were you, I wouldn't use force right now. After all, I've coated that plum blossom hairpin with poison. The more you exert yourself,